toast to our Father. Follow through on the promise I made to her.
Live from the palatial studios at Emerson College in beautiful downtown Boston, this is the Jeff Santos Show on the Revolution Radio Network. The Jeff Santos Show, rebuilding America. Together, investing, activism, and supporting the middle class. This is the Jeff Santos Show. Now, here's Jeff.
Good afternoon, Americans, and welcome to the Jeff Santos Show. We are live on the campus of Emerson College here on a Thursday afternoon. It is great to be with you here. We're going to be talking with our good friend Spencer Kimball, and we're going to discuss a lot of what is happening on this real fiasco in the NFL in terms of Adrian Peterson, Ray Rice, Mr. Dreyer from last night. All this, what does America think of the NFL and what they want to do? We'll get into that in a few minutes. We'll also talk with our good friend Roxanne Rivera. She director of 32BJ SEIU District 615. And we'll get into the idea of helping workers who are working at airports around the country, particularly Logan Airport. Big event yesterday. Our good friend Michael Dukakis was there. Ms. Rivera spoke, and many others. This is something we can all get behind because we need to get people to a good minimum wage. We need to get a better economic environment for this country. We'll get into that as well with our good friend Spencer Kimball. John Bussing will join us at 4:14. And we're looking to talk to our good friend Barbara Lee on the vote yesterday. She was a no vote. We'll get into that with you as well. And joining us live from Scotland on the Scottish vote is John Nichols, a Washington correspondent for The Nation magazine, of course, who's in Edinburgh. And we'll get the thoughts of whether or not this is a yay. I think it's easier to be a yes vote than it is a no vote. And one other thing, the youth vote is seemingly with, even though it's somewhat split, but the momentum is seemingly with the yes folks, and I hope it would be the case, and I hope they join the EU. We'll talk about all of that. Of course, the phone number to join us, 877-489-9421. We'll also take your emails, jeff@revolutionboston.com. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter, @Jeff Santos Show. I just want to make it very clear that we are at a point right now where the progressive voice has to be one in which is powerful enough to get us off of this foreign policy focus on a hourly basis by the media, by the president, and unfortunately by too many Democrats. Because we are going to lose big time if we continue to focus on this. The American people have already spoken in terms of if they're going to be for more military intervention, they're going to be for the Republicans, which means the Republicans want to have a destroy all possibilities of any kind of life in the Middle East. That's their approach. So if you're going to go with that approach, you're going to go with the team that is offering that. So that's why the Democrats' best hope for holding on to the Senate, picking up a few seats in the House, and maybe picking up a few seats in state capitals, the governor's races, is to focus on economic policy. When will the president go on this offensive? When will he focus on these issues, go on the road? We need to find that out. We want to hear from you at 877-489-9421. Will you be calling the Capitol? Will you be calling the White House, 202-456-1111, and make your point about where you see with the president, where he needs to be over the coming weeks? November 4th is coming up. We're all focused all the time, 24/7. Give me 22 minutes to give you the world of foreign policy. We need to hear more on the domestic side from the president. We're going to talk about the NFL with Spencer in a couple of minutes, but I want to bring you in here. Spencer Kimball, Scholar in Residence, Department of Communication Studies, Emerson College. Spencer, welcome to the program.
Jeff, thank you very much for having me.
Well, I just quickly here in our final minute, where do you think the president's poll numbers are going to go over the next few weeks if he continues to be on foreign policy?
Well, probably downwards, and that's been the trend that he's been on, obviously, for the last couple of months, if not a year. And, he's going away from his base going into the foreign policy camp, and those are the people who elected him did not elect him for these reasons. And, making a deal with the other side politically might be interesting, but not sure if it's going to play out in the end.
Completely agree. We'll be back with Spencer. We'll talk the NFL and their problems. They may be sharing the same crisis management as the president is these days. We'll be right back after this timeout.
Welcome back to school. We're ready to teach and ready to learn.
The National Education Association wants you to raise your hand for student success.
I'm NEA President Lily Eskelson Garcia. A new school year means exciting new challenges for students and educators, because it's more than a job, and they're more than just our students. Together, we'll make it the best school year yet.
Visit NEA.org/parents for tips.
With over 900,000 products in 31 product categories, some people would say Grainger has everything but the kitchen sink. Of course, those people would be wrong, because sinks are among the over 900,000 products Grainger offers to help keep your business up and running, along with belt sanders, baseboard heaters, duct tape, tissue paper, reversible air drills, and, well, you get the idea. Most everything. For super fast access to Grainger's over 900,000 products, call clickgrainger.com or stop by a branch today. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Confessions of a Potentially Perfect Parent, brought to you by AdoptUsKids.org.
I know more about cooking dinner for a party of 12 than about packing a lunch for a 12-year-old. I know kids like things like fish sticks. Fillets, I get, but sticks? Maybe we can just compromise on mac and cheese. Can you make that with Brie?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you. Call 1-888-200-4005 or visit AdoptUsKids.org for more information. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
When you open a book, you can explore new worlds, meet new friends, and discover new adventures, like the ones in the Chronicles of Narnia.
Impossible!
Are you prepared for what awaits you? To find out more about the wonders of reading, you can visit the Library of Congress website at www.loc.gov and let your journey begin. This message has been brought to you by the Library of Congress and the Ad Council.
Find us on Twitter at Jeff Santos Show.
I just want you close.
14 minutes past the hour. It is the Jeff Santos Show. Back here on the campus of Emerson College on this Thursday, the 18th of September, 2014. We'll be taking your calls throughout this segment for our friend Spencer Kimberligan, Scholar in Residence, Department of Communication Studies at Emerson College, at 877-489-9421. You can email me, Jeff, at revolutionboston.com, and check us out on Twitter and Facebook at Jeff Santos Show. Spencer, great to have you on this news, and thank you for giving us this exclusive numbers. These polling data on public attitudes toward the NFL, toward football, and where we're going is amazing. What is the latest? What have you found that stands out to you?
So we conducted a national sample over the last couple of days, and I guess the big takeaway is that despite all of these issues that are coming up, football is still the most popular sport in the country. 46% of respondents said that was their most popular, and then baseball came in at second at 22%. With that said, people are following the Ray Rice issue, the Adrian Peterson issue, probably more than foreign policy issues, probably more than they should be, but 77% of people are following Ray Rice and this whole development, with 62% following Adrian Peterson. It's also interesting to note how long they think that these players should be suspended for. And that in the Ray Rice case, 28% think that he should never be allowed to play in the National Football League again, versus Adrian Peterson, where they think 18% think he should be banned for life.
Now, Adrian Peterson may be the best running back in the league. Ray Rice is a little bit older and maybe past his prime. So I wondered if, how much of this plays into that whole idea. Peterson is also 30-something, I believe, and has also been in the league for a while, but he's still considered maybe the best or one of the top 3 or 4 in the game. I don't know how much that plays into it, but do people think that there should be a lot of changes in terms of how the NFL is played? I mean, this is something that I would like to see, but I don't know if I'm representative of the average NFL football fan.
Well, we asked questions about Roger Goodell and the domestic abuse policies, and 45% are disappointed or disapprove of Roger Goodell's handling of the situation. Only 21% actually approve of it. Likewise, 47% of people don't think that the abuse policy goes far enough, and 20% think that it goes too far. With all of that said, 54% of people say that Goodell should not be fired. Only 24%, about half of them, want him to be fired. So while they're pretty much disappointed with his handling of the abuse cases, they're not really calling for his head as of yet. And I think as long as football continues to be the most popular sport in the country, what I thought was pretty interesting is that 82% of respondents said that they have watched some part of an NFL game so far this year. And with numbers like that, there's a reason why advertisers are so slow to pull their endorsements of the league.
Again, talking with our good friend Spencer Kimball, scholar in residence, Department of Communication Studies at Emerson College. He also teaches the Political Communication and Communication Studies capstone courses for graduating seniors, and an advisor for the Emerson Pre-Law Society, Emerson College Polling Society. One of the things that you mentioned is Goodell's idea of his polling numbers, unfortunately, that mirror President Obama's as well. Is there an idea that they want to have somebody different? What are people, because the thing is that obviously our polling is being done in the midst of a lot of coverage by ESPN, by all the other sports networks, and then by the major networks, the MSNBCs and the CNNs. And I don't know what people are actually hearing. Are they asking for more? Are they reading more?
Well, obviously the situation is very fluid. It's like in the middle of a campaign. So I expect things to change a little bit more next year, in the weeks ahead. But with that said, they're pretty content with him in the helm, yet they want, they're not satisfied. And it's actually similar to Obama, where they say, I disapprove of the president, but I still want him to be my president.
Okay.
And that,
very interesting.
They've got that going on in that situation.
Well, again, we want to hear from you at 877-489-9421. Let's go to the phones and talk to our good friend Rudy in Chicago. Rudy, you're on with our good friend Spencer Kimball of Emerson College.
Hello, Jeff. Hello.
Hey, Rudy.
Yeah, hi. I wanted to comment about this NFL problem with the outrage from these athletes who are striking down people who we have an argument with. For a long time, I've thought that these performance-enhancing drugs may have a lot to do with it. Yesterday, a statement from the NFL said they were going to restrict the use of performance-enhancing drugs like the growth hormone drug, and that they would not allow the players to use it in the off season. Well, I believe that was their statement. They would use it during the season.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a half measure, and I don't think that that'll work on that basis. So, and then they've been saying that most of these players seem to have grown up in the South. Most of the players, I think, are involved are the black players. I can tell you a story real quick that I saw in an interview some 20 or more years ago. I don't know how the story got to the media, but they interviewed this black elderly gentleman.
African American, but go ahead, Rudy.
Yes, what he had to say was that black kids are not like white kids. That black kids need to be whooped often So I was
Well, that's
quite
crazy, but go ahead.
I
Yeah.
know, but that was his state of mind, and that's what he believed.
Well, we heard
So,
from
I
Barkley.
don't know.
We've heard from a lot of people on that. And let me ask you this, Rudy, because you're a regular caller to the show, Rudy is. Are you more angry, frustrated by what happened with Ray Rice to his wife, or are you more concerned about what Peterson did to his son, or equal?
Well, I think more concerned about what he did to his son. You know, I didn't, in the initial hearing of what happened, I didn't know that the son was injured because of the use of that switch. But, you know, he's only 4 years old.
And he's hospitalized, yeah.
I've seen many science programs and heard from many people in science that have studied the brain. A child's brain, a teenager's brain, is constantly in development. It's not fully developed. So how can you put such a pressure on a child who may not know any better?
I agree. Spencer, what would you hear? What are people more frustrated about? The using of the switch to hit a 4-year-old, which is insane in my opinion, but that's one thing. And then, of course, the knockout punch by Ray Rice to his wife, and then dragging her out like she's a sack of potatoes. Which one happened? Did it break down on gender and racial lines?
Well, we can extrapolate that the spousal abuse was a more egregious problem for the respondents. We also asked a question regarding spanking and people's attitudes about spanking children, and in that we found that 60% of people approve of spanking versus 23% that disapprove. So it's nearly 3-to-1, and then it starts to get interesting when you look at regions and you look at race.
Well, let me, before we get into that, and when they say spanking, there's one thing, you know, if you give a kid, again, I don't want any of it, but if you give a kid the back of your hand, you know, in the butt, versus using a blunt instrument like a switch or a stick or whatever, and the kid is hospitalized. I mean, these are two different things. I mean, do people approve of, you know, a blunt object?
More so than you would think.
Wow.
You know, people that are saying that what Adrian Peterson did was not wrong, that's nearly 33% of people. So, you know, there are people out there that say it is, but, you know, that's still a big chunk of our population, and it generally comes out of the South that we expect, a little bit out of the Midwest. The Northeast is more, I'm not sure the right wording, but more anti that type of corporal punishment.
Yeah,
with
against it, obviously.
Against,
yeah.
But, you know, then you start dealing with educational levels, and people with lower educational levels are more likely to approve of that behavior. People with graduate level, you know, college degrees, which is a relatively small part of our country, disapprove. So education plays a role in it. Race plays a role. White people are 56-28 in support of spanking, while African Americans are 72-19. So you start to see discrepancies regionally and by other demographic measurements.
Rudy, I don't know how you look at that, but to me, you know, this is sad in a lot of ways that we're having, and that comment that you heard, I don't know who said that, but obviously I hope that they, in 10 years, have realized that they are incredibly wrong.
In my family, I have one son. He's 34 years old. I never had to touch him. Really, didn't want to. Same thing with my older brother. He had about 3 or 4 years. One was adopted. That's why I say 3 or 4. But they never treated children like that. My father always said that. Don't you, you know, especially watch out for the girls. Make sure they're protected and let nobody, you know, mistreat them. So that's been our motto in my family, and we got along very well without them.
Rudy, I appreciate your call. Thank you. I mean, and you're ahead of your time in a lot of ways, age-wise, and we'll get into that in a second. Rudy, thank you, my friend. Obviously, we keep our eye on what's happening in Washington as well.
I want to say one quick thing about the athletes. I think they're using a lot of different kinds of drugs, and I think one of them I think they're using is Benadryl. It's just my suspicion. There's one team in particular who seems to have a nervous edge on them all through the game. So I don't know if you noticed that or not.
Which team is it? I can't tell you who's nervous.
A team from the Northwest.
From the Northwest. Oh, we talking about the Super Bowl champion Seahawks?
Yes, sir. I
Well,
noticed that in the last couple of games. I know into the championship last year, and I think I've seen it now. You know, like I said, I played football. I know how tired you get, but they seem to be on the edge all the time.
interesting stuff. Well, you know, I'm a good friend. I should say good friend. I know Pete Carroll. He's a good guy, big Democrat, by the way. And I'd be surprised if he's doing anything that illegal. But maybe it's legal. I'm not sure about what substance is these days. And
it was invented by the Germans. They used it with the German army, and that's what they went through their blitzkrieg. They couldn't understand how they could keep on the go for 48 hours or more without getting arrest. So, anyway.
Fantastic. Great, Rudy. Appreciate the call. Are people upset about the drugs in the NFL as they were with maybe baseball with steroids 10 years ago?
It doesn't appear that that's hampering the league at all as well. I think people are kind of come accustomed to it. And it was interesting to see them change a drug policy during a season and then retroactively change people's suspensions because what they were doing was illegal at the time, and now they're saying their hands are clean. So I feel like as long as the NFL continues to have the popularity, people will keep looking the other way on these issues.
We're talking NFL. We're going to be talking with the military. I know Carl from Nashville online is you want to talk about the Iraq vote and so forth. We'll get back. We'll talk to all of this with Spencer Kimball, our guest from Emerson College, right here on the Jeff Santos Show, 877-489-9421. Check us out. Back in a flash.
Welcome back to school. We're ready to teach and ready to learn.
The National Education Association wants you to raise your hand for student success.
I'm NEA President Lily Eskelson Garcia. A new school year means exciting new challenges for students and educators because it's more than a job, and they're more than just our students. Together, we'll make it the best school year yet.
Visit NEA.org/parents for tips.
With over 900,000 products in 31 product categories, some people would say Grainger has everything but the kitchen sink. Of course, those people would be wrong, because sinks are among the over 900,000 products Grainger offers to help keep your business up and running, along with belt sanders, baseboard heaters, duct tape, tissue paper, reversible air drills, and, well, you get the idea. Most everything. For super fast access to Grainger's over 900,000 products, call clickgrainger.com or stop by a branch today. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey everybody, Jamie Lee Curtis here for RAD, recording artists, actors, and athletes against drunk driving. What should you do to stop a friend from driving if they've been drinking? Answer, whatever it takes. Think before you drink. Designate before you celebrate. Choose a designated driver. Remember, friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
That windshield on the car you're driving, let's stretch it by 50 feet. In your engine, let's add a ton of horsepower and more fuel efficiency. And let's skip the next drive-through for a dining car. That's right, a dining car. And an observation car, and a sleeping car, and a getaway in an altogether different car. A spacious Amtrak train for an experience no car can match. Now making 500 destinations a far better ride. Amtrak. Enjoy the journey.
I'm here to tell you that your options for getting out of debt have never been better. How do I know? Because I'm Howard Dvorkin, the founder of Consolidated Credit. For nearly 2 decades, we've helped over 5 million people just like you. And every time we help someone, they all say the same thing. Why didn't I call sooner? If you owe too much money on your credit cards and you feel that you'll never be able to pay it off, don't wait. Simply pick up the phone and find out what our program can do for you. Reducing your payments by up to 50% is just the beginning, but you have to take the first step.
Call Consolidated Credit now. 1-800-290-0412.
As soon as you call, the hard part is over.
You're one call away from financial freedom. Call Consolidated Credit now. 1-800-290-0412. 1-800-290-0412. That's 1-800-290-0412.
5701 Sunrise Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Licensed debt management service provider, Vermont and New York banking departments, Maryland 149, Oregon DM 80031.
LIUNA, the Laborers International Union of North America, is the most progressive and aggressive union of construction workers and one of the most diverse and effective unions representing public service employees today.
Laborers International members are on the forefront of the industry.
We're 500,000 proud and strong men and women united through collective bargaining agreements.
We earn family-supporting pay, good benefits, and the opportunity for advancement and better lives. Do you?
To learn more about the Laborers International Union of North America, go to liuna.org.
The entire world watched. They watched each step down the rungs of that small ladder, one after another, and waited with great anticipation for that last step.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
At that moment, humanity saw the impossible become the possible, and today the sky is not the limit. Achievement. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com.
This is Frank Santarelli. We are rocking with Jeff Santos. Rockin'.
.32 past the hour. Little Eddie Vedder. It is Jeff Santos Show. 877-489-9421. We're talking with Emerson College's Spencer Kimball about the NFL and polling. But there's also a lot to talk about with Spencer about the president and the move yesterday for the House to put money forward. I should say put money, but give the okay for arming Syria and, of course, arming the rebels there and providing a way for money from Saudi Arabia to go there as well. The president yesterday spoke at McGill Air Force Base. This is what he had to say.
As your commander-in-chief, I will not commit you and the rest of our armed forces to fighting another ground war in Iraq.
Spencer, this is an issue that I think divides a lot of progressives from the rest of the base. I think if he had to submit to ground troops, I think he would lose his entire base. And for that matter, I think he would lose his presidency. He's emphatic about this. And I think he went on to say in the New York Times that, and I'm paraphrasing here, that basically he believes that the idea that a foreign country like the United States coming in would basically be more a demagogue, and that he doesn't believe that's the case. But the question I have is that the American people who still, in every poll that I've seen, want more jobs to be focused on, and that's the economy issue. But I think if we get snookered in here, you know, another hostage, another American hostage, possibly somebody who's an advisor, or the Navy SEALs that are involved in Iraq or Syria get killed or beheaded, then I think all bets are off in terms of troops on the ground.
Yeah, it's a very slippery slope that he's going down here. And, you know, he's very careful with his words, like he was part of his health care policy. And you can see that, you know, he tries to stay on message, but he's also, you know, straddling the fence.
Right.
And I find that when candidates do that, politicians do that, you know, what happens when you slip?
Yep.
And he's got to be really careful here because, you know, we've always heard, oh, we're just sending in advisors. We're only doing airstrikes. And, you know, we're bringing in this coalition. Well, at some point, you know, there will be Americans, you know, doing training. And as you mentioned, it only takes one of these episodes now to create, you know, havoc in the news media. You know, the news media is starving for war because it's great for ratings, but they don't, you know, the president needs to, you know, almost be above that. And it's a very difficult place for him to be because he doesn't want to look like an isolationist.
Yeah, he's also very defensive on this issue, and I understand it because he doesn't want to see troops. I think, you know, deep down inside, in his core of his soul, he doesn't want to extend the war any more than he has to. But the question is that once you open that gate, it's very difficult to turn it back. Carl in Nashville, you're next, and join us here with our good friend Spencer Kimball. How you doing, Carl? Carl, can you hear me? Carl, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me, my friend? Oh, Carl is no longer there. 877-489-9421. Carl, if you want to call back, we'd love to get your thoughts on this. Let me ask you this. I feel, Spencer, that the American people overreacted to the video of the two beheadings. I understand it, but we're talking about two journalists, and I don't know, again, if people are getting the right amount of information. These, and I'm a journalist, the degree from Northeastern, the whole thing. But these two individuals, fellow New Englanders, did on their own, decided to go into a war zone. I don't see how that changes policy, but obviously it has.
Yeah.
And is it because you see this over and over again on the FOX network and other ones that people said, oh, we got to do something?
Yeah, I think you're right in that, there's a tragedy. Obviously, no one's condoning this type of activity. But with that said, that's the point of what terrorists do, is that they try to get this media exposure, and we've fallen for it, I feel like, yet again. And they rerun it on the news cycle nonstop, and this is what people are going to talk about. This is what's going to come down to the local conversations. And when that happens, they're expecting politicians to act on that. And, obviously it's a huge tragedy, but with that said, we're now going to have to make a decision.
It's great to have you on, Spencer Kimball, Emerson College. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you
very
much
stuff.
for having me.
Look forward to having you back again.
Thanks,
Thank
Jeff.
you again. We're right back. It's the Jeff Santos Show. You meet at the top of the hour. We'll be back in a flash.
LIUNA, the Laborers International Union of North America, is the most progressive and aggressive union of construction workers and one of the most diverse and effective unions representing public service employees today.
Laborers International members are on the forefront of the industry.
We're 500,000 proud and strong men and women united through collective bargaining agreements.
We earn family-supporting pay, good benefits, and the opportunity for advancement and better lives. Do you?
To learn more about the Laborers International Union of North America, go to liuna.org.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty good job, innit, when you think about it? I mean, basically, I help people save money, don't I? Like, I tell people they could save hundreds by switching to Geico. They go to geico.com, maybe save all this money on car insurance, and the next thing you know, I'm like invited to their wedding or whatever. One bloke actually asked me to be his best man. Dear oh dear. Anyway, look, don't matter. Look, point is, if you want loads of friends giving away money, it's not a bad idea.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Confessions of a Potentially Perfect Parent, brought to you by AdoptUsKids.org.
I know more about cooking dinner for a party of 12 than about packing a lunch for a 12-year-old. I know kids like things like fish sticks. Fillets, I get, but sticks? Maybe we can just compromise on mac and cheese. Can you make that with Brie?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you. Call 1-888-200-4005 or visit AdoptUsKids.org for more information. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
When you open a book, you can explore new worlds, meet new friends, and discover new adventures, like the ones in the Chronicles of Narnia.
Impossible! Are you prepared for what awaits you?
To find out more about the wonders of reading, you can visit the Library of Congress website at www.loc.gov and let your journey begin. This message has been brought to you by the Library of Congress and the Ad Council.
I'm here to tell you that your options for getting out of debt have never been better. How do I know? Because I'm Howard Dvorkin, the founder of Consolidated Credit. For nearly 2 decades, we've helped over 5 million people just like you. And every time we help someone, they all say the same thing. Why didn't I call sooner? If you owe too much money on your credit cards and you feel that you'll never be able to pay it off, don't wait. Simply pick up the phone and find out what our program can do for you. Reducing your payments by up to 50% is just the beginning, but you have to take the first step.
Call Consolidated Credit now. 1-800-290-0412.
As soon as you call, The hard part is over.
You're one call away from financial freedom. Call Consolidated Credit now. 1-800-290-0412. 1-800-290-0412. That's 1-800-290-0412.
5701 Sunrise Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Licensed debt management service provider, Vermont and New York banking departments, Maryland 149, Oregon DM 80031.
LIUNA, the Laborers International Union of North America, is the most progressive and aggressive union of construction workers and one of the most diverse and effective unions representing public service employees today.
Laborers International members are on the forefront of the industry.
We're 500,000 proud and strong men and women united through collective bargaining agreements.
We earn family-supporting pay, good benefits, and the opportunity for advancement and better lives. Do you?
To learn more about the Laborers International Union of North America, go to liuna.org.
We're asking people how big a marriage is.
Like how many people it affects.
Right.
So let's find out.
How big is it? I can't measure it.
It's worldwide. I would say big as the universe.
So your marriage affects more than just the two of you.
How many people?
At least 1,000.
If you bring joy to your marriage, you're kind of like, I want that too.
You see those nice people being together, being happy, and you want to enjoy that too.
Want to improve your marriage? For ideas, go to foryourmarriage.org and message from the Catholic Church.
Welcome back to school. We're ready to teach and ready to learn.
The National Education Association wants you to raise your hand for student success.
I'm NEA President Lily Eskelson Garcia. A new school year means exciting new challenges for students and educators because it's more than a job, and they're more than just our students. Together, we'll make it the best school year yet.
Visit NEA.org/parents for tips.
With over 900,000 products in 31 product categories, some people would say Grainger has everything but the kitchen sink. Of course, those people would be wrong, because sinks are among the over 900,000 products Grainger offers to help keep your business up and running, along with belt sanders, baseboard heaters, duct tape, tissue paper, reversible air drills, and, well, you get the idea. Most everything. For super fast access to Grainger's over 900,000 products, call, click Grainger.com, or stop by a branch today. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This hour of the Jeff Santos Show is sponsored by LIUNA, the Laborers International Union of North America. Feel the power. You can check what they are doing for their members right now. Just go to liuna.org.
Back on the Revolution Radio Network, it is the Jeff Santos Show. We'll get to your calls a little bit later. I mistakenly gave out the wrong information, but that's all right. I'm not perfect, and I'm glad to say that I'm not. 877-489-9421. Obviously, we have a lot of imperfections when it comes to paying our workers, and one of the areas is right here in Boston at Logan Airport. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Yesterday, I had the great opportunity to witness a great group of union activists at my church, actually, where I attend services, just not far from here, the Paulus Center, part of the Catholic faith, and one in which is very active in the fight for human rights and labor. And 32BJ, SEIU 32BJ, was there yesterday hosting this event, and we're going to be joined by Roxanne Rivera, Director of 32BJ, SEIU District 615, 145,000 members. They're the largest union of property service workers in the United States. It is great to have Roxanne Rivera, who yesterday, along with Michael Dukakis and others, really pumped up the crowd and are doing great things to get good working conditions for our friends who are doing everything, cleaning the planes and every other part of service there. Roxanne, great to have you back on the program.
Great, thank you.
Well, Roxanne, now let me ask you, yesterday's event has been a number of events that you guys have been doing to sort of highlight this. Where does it stand right now for those Logan Airport workers to unionize, and what needs to be done to make that happen?
So yesterday was a very important day because hundreds of workers at Logan Airport actually made their voices loud and clear. Nearly 900 out of 1,000. 1,200 of them chose to be represented by our union and really want a real voice at work with wage increases and benefits, like health care and just sick days. So it was a very important day because the vast majority of these aviation service workers, they're passenger service workers that are largely contracted out by the airlines, still make between $8 and $9 an hour. And so yesterday, what happened was airport workers, they've collected hundreds of union cards this year, and so those cards were counted yesterday under the supervision of the Labor Guild. It's a respected labor management organization to determine whether the majority of the group of workers want to be represented by a union, and they spoke loud and clear because 900 out of 1,200 said yes, they want the pathway to have a union to, again, gain that dignity and respect on the job that they so lack.
Talking with Roxana Rivera, director of 32BJ SEIU District 615 here on the Jeff Santos Show. Roxana, there are cities around the country that have a similar scenario. How many cities does SEIU are you involved with this issue of airport workers?
So there's several cities where we're actually actively talking to workers that are facing these similar conditions, working for contractors that are outsourced by the airlines. Mm-hmm. And it really has made a difference in those airports that the local airport authority actually take some steps to encourage that airlines actually increase the wages for their subcontracted workers and just increase standards for the airport overall. And so in different airports that's played out somewhat differently, and in LAX and San Francisco airports, those workers have won the path to a union and have been supported by those airport authorities. And we're looking at, having Boston be the same.
Now, let me ask you this, because I think this is a big part of where people are looking at this, is that the airlines, some of them union, could employ these folks, but they subcontract out to somebody, so they get a lower wage. And this is what's happening. This is third-party involvement, correct? Just to sort of give people an understanding of this that are looking at this issue. They can say, well, some of these airlines are union, some aren't, but it's these third-party companies. If you want to mention them by name, please be my guest. That are causing the problem right now, right?
Yeah. So the airlines actually, for example, for the cleaning of their planes, they will actually subcontract that out because, yes, they want to cut costs and save money, and that has been the circumstances for years. But what has happened is that it's, the situation becomes to deteriorate more and more because of the competition for these contracts where there's no floor except the minimum wage. And
exactly.
And then it gets worse because the subcontractors actually begin to start skirting the law around wage an hour and OSHA because they just don't have, the resources or there's nobody watchdogging them to make sure that they actually follow the law and that they act responsibly. And so these workers that are on the front line with these companies, if they have a voice on the job, then they'll be able to kind of, and if these standards increase that basically help these companies be more responsible, then I think it will help both workers and the overall safety and operations at the airport.
Again, talking with Roxana Rivera, Director of 32BJ SEIU District 615. I'm interested in what you think that the other part of yesterday's event, Episcopal Vicar James Flavin of the Massachusetts Archdiocese, representing Cardinal O'Malley, was there. The idea of a political leader like Michael Dukakis, obviously organized labor, represented by SEIU 32BJ, and now religious folks who understand the human rights aspect of this. This is a pretty powerful coalition when you can put together those three entities. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts, because you had an opportunity. You said yesterday at the presser that there was this opportunity to meet with Mr. Flavin, and that can be a very powerful force, particularly if it's copied around the country. Your thoughts there?
Yeah. So obviously, we've for a long time we've actually been going deep with the workers and getting the workers to understand that they actually can have a pathway to a better life. And so we showed that to yesterday loud and clear, but we can't do that solely. So what we've been doing is really outreaching to elected officials, respected individuals like Mike Dukakis, and also religious leaders that basically these workers are part of their same communities, in regards to with their faith, right? And so I think it was very important for both workers to kind of see the support that they have, that really what they're asking for is not too much, right? It's basically what is right. And so it was really important for that, for the workers to feel that support. And also just so the workers are not invisible, right? I think it does take folks like Mike Dukakis to come out and just say this is the right thing to do, right? Because I think that people will have more will to do the right thing when they see that, folks support it.
We're talking with Roxanne Rivera of SEIU 32BJ here on the Jeff Santos Show. What is your hope with this vote, with these people signing up and so forth? What is the timeline, and how can people help?
So I think yesterday was another step in what we're trying to do, is gain a pathway for workers to actually improve their lives. And we think that we took that step yesterday, just demonstrating how deep and the urgency that folks have to have a better life, right, through their hard work. And so we're going to continue in the coming months, to stick together and not let this issue go away. And our hope is that it will actually bring the contractors and the airlines to want to be part of trying to figure out the best solution here that will allow workers to have a voice on the job, and also, address concerns that they want, because at the end of the day, I think everybody wants a safer airport. And so we just need to work together to try to do and accomplish those two things together.
Talking with Roxanne Rivera here on the Jeff Santos Show, again, Director 32BJ, SEIU District 615. Let me talk to you a little bit about, the fact that you have a lot of people who are a Latino background that were at the event yesterday. Have you found in working here that they are more and more excited to see unions and the organization of them? Of course, this is going on a lot in California and New York with their large Hispanic and Latino populations. Your thoughts about their excitement to join more, because there's obviously a lot of people trying to keep them out of unions, and there's all that message from the other side. Give me your thoughts about that, because this is obviously the future of the country as the demographics change, and how Latinos react to labor. It could change a lot of how we are with workers around this country. Your thoughts?
So actually what we found at the airport, which is pretty unique to other work sites, even in Boston, is the level of different cultures and ethnicities that are actually doing this subcontracted out work for minimum wage. And so we've had to have folks going out there, not just with our Latino community, but with the Arabic-speaking community, with Moroccan community, And so it has been very interesting, and we've had to kind of broaden, kind of that outreach in order to reach and be able to speak to as many workers. So although yesterday we did have a strong representation from Spanish-speaking workers, those 900 out of those 1,200 were a huge differences in cultures that came together to just say loud and clear that they, want a better path to to a union. So.
No doubt. Talking with Roxanne Rivera. If people want to get engaged and get involved, phone number, websites, and if there are any, we're heard in places like Chicago and Philadelphia and Tampa and in New York, what would be the best way to do this and across the country for that matter, if there are other websites and places that you want us to mention?
So SEIU is really spearheading the efforts that the airports across the country. Here on the East Coast, we definitely, have efforts going on in Philadelphia, in New York City. So folks should, feel free to visit our website at SEIU32BJ.org and to find out about those efforts here on the East Coast. And just here in Boston, we do feel like we're going to need to do more, and so I think in the next couple of months, we will be doing activities where I think folks will be, will be asking the public to join and to put forth their efforts to kind of continue to send a message that these workers did yesterday about, we want a better path to, strong, good jobs and stronger communities at the end of the day.
Roxanne Rivera, Director of 32BJ SEIU District 615, has been our guest. Again, a very strong labor union, 145,000 members, and the largest union of property service workers in the United States. It is so great to have you on, Roxanne. Don't be a stranger. Look forward to having you on, maybe next time in person, as our studios and your offices are very close by. So look forward to seeing you in person next time, and thank you for spending time with us today.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. We'll be right back. We're going to take your calls. So Sacramento, David, and Carl in Nashville, thank you for calling back, by the way, Carl. We'll come back and take your calls at the top of the hour. I don't want to just get you in here before we go to break. So stay with us. We'll get right back to you. John Bussinger will join us in the second hour. We'll take your calls with John throughout the hours as well. We're trying to connect with our good friend Barbara Lee in the third hour. We'll be joined by John Nichols live from Scotland. All this coming up on the Jeff Santos Show. Busy Thursday. Back in a flash.